Joe, how did Helen Keller burn her face? She answered the iron.
So that doesn't work. Let me explain.
Okay.
She's deaf.
No, but
There's nothing to answer.
Okay.
She's deaf.
But they have different things that would, maybe she had on fire.
What did she have, like lights or something?
Yeah, they flashed off and on.
They had a vibrating iron?
Right,
You want to tell that
exactly.
joke again?
All right, yes, I do. Shut up, because it's a two-parter. Just play along. Joe, how did Helen Keller burn her face?
How?
She answered the iron. How did she burn the other side?
How?
They called back. He called back. Hey, this is Jacques.
I'm Joe.
And welcome to Carnival Personnel. It was 3 or 4 weeks ago I threw out Helen Keller joke, and you said it's Helen Keller joke month, so I figured I'm just
No. I said it was Helen Keller month.
Oh, Helen, okay.
We're supposed to honor her,
I think I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's not as good as her dog.
As long as you think it, it's true. Isn't that how truth works now?
So, I believe so. But I'm going to make a definitive statement now that I'm going to deny ever having said, tell you that you're fake news and say something completely different tomorrow. Before we even dive into it, you do not like my Moxie.
I dislike your Moxie. What I'm talking about, of course, is the Diet Moxie that Jacques bought at a convenience store on his way here. If you haven't noticed, we eat and drink on the air. We think that it adds to the experience of being here if you hear us digesting, what's it called? Masticulating or masticating. When you hear us masticating on a microphone with various chocolates and chips and dips and drink. And this time, Jacques decided, hey, this looks stupid. Let me buy this.
That's exactly what
It's a white can that says Diet Moxie on the side, and it tastes like store-brand Tylenol. It's awful. Mixed with chocolate.
I like the young Perry Mason on the side there.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't even know why I bought it. And you said what? Because you thought it would be funny.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like if there was a can that said shit on it, he would buy like 2 cases of it for fear of selling out.
We're going to mention Biff a few times because I got into a conversation on the way here that Biff was calling us out for not mentioning a couple facts on the on the other side. I think saying we're not what is it? And bias or what was it?
Unbiased?
What is the Fox News logo?
Oh, fair and balanced.
Fair and balanced because
No, we're
failing.
Yeah, we're fail and balanced.
That is so true.
No, we're fail unbalanced.
So, but we'll get into that. But it's funny because Biff accidentally, I was just showing Joe a picture, accidentally sent me. There was a box that came that was meant for somebody else, but he didn't change the address on Amazon last time he used it. And I showed Joe the picture, and it turns out it's for a watch display, and you thought it was maybe
like a Matchbox car holder.
I thought it was like for figurines and stuff
right,
like that.
It's not big enough for like action figures.
And I point out that it was for Biff's son, who's more mature than us, that he would be doing it for, it's a watch display thing. And I said, our white trash blue collar DNA, and you were like,
no, that's how childish we are. Like we can't get past like anything that you can't buy at a Toys R Us. Like why would you put it in this case?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because in that case, you can't possibly get figurines in their box, which is mint condition.
Like Jacques doesn't have a wallet because he doesn't know what to put in it because he can't fit baseball cards in there.
Well, plus, you don't need the lucky rubber anymore.
Right. You bend your Pokemon cards, it doesn't fit.
They don't fit. No, and then
No.
the edges, and that's
Stupid.
Takes back.
What a dumb device. Who needs that?
So, anybody who listened to last week's sideshow, Joe, that was hysterical. That was a lot of fun. Thank you again for saying, after a year plus doing this, hey, let's do a Mel Brooks sideshow.
Well, I think it was about time that we talked about something funny, even though we weren't funny talking about it.
But you can't not have fun talking about Mel Brooks.
It helps with the pre-recorded clips done by professional comedians.
And speaking of that, so it's just serendipitous. I don't know if that's the right word, but I get home and like 2 days later on the Netflix, like you might like this thing, was a documentary that came out a couple years ago that I think they just got the rights of that I didn't see, and I think I sent it to you.
Last laugh. Is that?
Yeah, and it's basically, it wasn't funny, but it was comedians talking about what is funny and what is not funny and why it's okay. And I didn't agree with everything. But there were some people, like, it kept, the unfunny part is it kept flashing back to this Holocaust survivor going to, like, Holocaust survivor speaking engagements, cutting back and forth between Mel Brooks talking about why Hitler is funny. And what was interesting, and I've never noticed this, but at the same time, I'm watching that, Joe, you stumbled upon, how did you find the Mel Brooks rap?
A professional broadcaster, when preparing for a Mel Brooks podcast, would do the research prior to the podcast. Look up clips of Mel Brooks, maybe see some interviews, find out some nuggets of information that maybe not well known to the public, and incorporate that into your own broadcast. Not me. I listened to the podcast that we stumbled through, if you will, and then afterwards I'm like, that sounded funny. I'm going to go on YouTube and find some funny clips of Mel Brooks. And then I looked up Mel Brooks on YouTube, found an interview of him with Johnny Carson. Like, he took over the whole Tonight Show one day in 1975. But then in the suggested videos was Hitler rap. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Because it had Mel Brooks in it. And I'm like, that's Mel Brooks dressed as Hitler, surrounded by S&M looking Third Reich models with whips. What the hell is this? So I click on it, and apparently, I don't know if was this tied in with To Be and Not To Be, that movie that he did with Anne Bancroft. I couldn't quite tell, but it was him rapping as Hitler. It was like an 80s, probably like mid 80s rap, and it was really well done. Like, there was some shitty raps done for Robin Hood Men in Tights that maybe don't stand the test of time. I think this one did.
Or the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, no, how dare you, sir?
But the interesting thing is, as many times as Mel has, donned the mustache, he will not wear a swastika in all his doings. And the highlight for me watching this is it cut back and forth between Rob Reiner and Gilbert Gottfried telling the same joke. So they weren't in the same room telling it, but they were both explaining, how humor, like ironic humor. And I was going to use it for the opening one, and I will. I'll throw it out there, and I know I'm going to butcher it. But there are these two, Jewish guys who are sent out to assassinate Hitler, and they got great information. He is going to be at his house at 8:00 on this day. So they get there really early. They're hiding in the bushes. And, they go radio silence, and it's getting closer and closer to 8:00, and they're getting ready. They're all prepared, and he doesn't show. And now it's 8:15. Now it's 8:20. Now it's 8:30. And they call headquarters, and they're like, hey, are you sure this is happening? And they're like, radio silence. He must be late. We know he's going to be there. And then another half hour goes by, and then another half hour. And then, one of the assassins looks to the other and goes, oh, he's 2 hours late. I hope nothing happened. And it's so, but of course, Gilbert and Rob Reiner telling it was
yes, it's funnier in the original Jewish.
But then they went back and forth, and it was like almost like, well, we're Jewish, so we can tell these jokes. This is our N-word,
kind of. Yeah, I mean, thing. Obviously, it all depends on context. Context is key when it comes to comedy. Not everybody can do, I love black people, but I hate, you can't, not everybody can see The Office.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was, what was interesting was, again, the old adage, it's what is comedy, and they're all breaking it down. It's tragedy plus time equals comedy. And then they were talking like the gallows humor that they, the stories that came out of Holocaust victims, like the gallows humor that they had in there that was survival, techniques and stuff like that. This lady was talking, and then we segued off of Mel Brooks, but the lady was talking about how they got these physicals from the camp doctor, and they thought, well, this is the most absurd thing ever. It's like, why would you care if I have scoliosis? It's like, because the doctor was like, hey, after the war, you might want to look at this. It's like 50-50, I lived through the night, and you're worried about medical treatment I should follow up on after the war.
I think it was more of an expediting thing.
Right. So it was but getting back on the Mel Brooks thing, it was a lot of fun. But then in the next day, like you say, I stumble upon this documentary, and you go looking for more information after. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll take this opportunity to sort of break up this entire list of topics that you had written down, and I don't see it on here because I don't read it. But today that we're recording, Friday, is Norman Lear's 96th birthday.
Dates on the book.
Yes, dates on the book. Seriously, I'm bringing it up because apparently he's making a deal with Sony, and I guess is in talks to maybe revive like All in the Family and Maude and other like Jeffersons.
Well, because One Day at a Time, I guess that's on Hulu.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I think it's in its second season, and it's doing well.
Right, right. I mean, because he and it was funny. He was quick to jump on the. Hey, if you're looking for a reboot and Roseanne isn't your thing, maybe check out.
And they took him up on that offer. So honestly, I would be very interested. I mean, it might not be. Obviously, it's not going to match in quality what came out in
Shock
the 70s.
value.
Originally, yeah, just the perfect time, perfect everything, perfect storm. And again, it goes back to tragedy and timing. I mean, they dealt with lots of tragic topics and built comedy around it. And you know what? Comedy is a coping mechanism for a lot of people. I mean, you know, I'm sure, I don't know how many funerals you've been to, but I'm sure that there are times where the place you kind of need a laugh the most is when you're feeling the most tragic.
I remember, it's a very old joke, but I used it at the right time. My grandfather's funeral was hysterical. You know, like very, very, very hysterical. He had 3 sons. One of them's kind of a black sheep of the family who's been in and out of the pictures over like literally the last 60 years. And, you know, my cousin Mary was really upset. And I told her, you know, the story. It's like that grandpa, when he was on his deathbed, had asked each of his sons, it's like, hey, you know, at my wake, slip $100 in there just in case you need a little walking around money in heaven. So Uncle Bud, the oldest, went up first, knelt down, said his little prayer over him, you know, slipped $100 in his left pocket. My Uncle Dennis, the middle son, he went next, said his little prayer, said his goodbye, slipped $100 in the right pocket. My Uncle Gary went up last, you know, said his little prayer, took the $100 out of his left pocket and the $100 out of his right pocket, wrote a check for 3 and put it in his hand. My cousin Mary just thought, because, and the thing is, that's something my Uncle Gary would do, you know. What's the right way to say dirtbag? But anyways, but at the funeral it was, and it went from hysterically laughing to crying type thing.
To wrap up on that same note, Google or YouTube the Graham Chapman funeral, Monty Python. Graham Chapman was the one. To this day, he's the only dead Monty Python member. But they televised his funeral, and John Cleese spoke, and but it's all fucking hilarious. But it's a funeral, you know. I mean, you know, there is a place for comedy in context with tragic things. So I don't know how we're getting onto this topic.
When our podcast would be
tragedy.
considered tragic,
and then
when are we going to have comedy?
Oh yeah, so like 5 years from now, we'll do a podcast about this podcast and have a grand old time. Tune in.
So, on lighter news, I thought that was interesting.
How's your tuberculosis, by the way?
Yeah, I opened the door in influenza.
Heyo. Hope the non-filtered air down here is helping out.
Anyway. Get some Moxie.
Yeah, right. Have your Moxie. You're not drinking your Moxie. It's been 4 hours. Drink your Moxie.
Like medicine, like low relief.
You want mine?
Like the discount one.
I tell you now. Go ahead.
Joe Rogan, speaking about people who can speak.
Joe Rogan or Seth Rogen?
I think it's Joe Rogan.
Oh, because you have Seth Rogen.
Oh, because I'm stupid. Then we'll have to look that up. I'll look that up.
No, I mean, if it's the Canadian guy, it's Seth Rogen. Wait, Seth Rogen.
I thought Joe Rogan was also Canadian.
Oh, was he? Okay. He's the one. Joe Rogan's got the podcast. Seth Rogen's the movie guy.
He does. So we'll move on.
A Rogan has what?
No, I don't want to bring up
right.
the voice of Vancouver if I got the wrong Rogan.
I can look it up real quick.
But I will go on to the interesting thing. Gunn, who directed Guardians of the Galaxy
James
1
Gunn.
and 2, whose brother is also in the movies, and is a hysterical character, I guess got fired by Disney for tweets from, like 6 or 7 years ago? Did you follow that?
Yeah, I know the story a little bit. So Mike Cernovich is some right-wing, nut. He's like this blogger or whatever the fuck. And he made it his mission. It's Seth Rogen, by the way.
What's that?
He made it his mission to go out and basically take down all of these. It was a hit job. He's targeting left-leaning celebrities for, who are edgy, edgy comedic guys who are successful in entertainment and probably have a left-leaning voice, and attacking them and, drumming up this fake outrage against them for shit that they've said in the past on social media that is questionable, is a gray area when it comes to appropriateness.
Is he looking for false equivalency?
Well, right, the whole Roseanne thing. Well, if Roseanne fucking said this and got fired, then why can't, Disney, how could you be aligned with James Gunn, who between 2008 and 2011 posted tweet jokes about pedophilia and child pornography or whatever the hell. And, there was a little bit of a groundswell around that right-wing following that Mike Cernovich has, or Chernovich, and apparently Disney kind of caved and said, yeah, we don't feel that James Gunn's values align with ours, and we're no longer associated with James Gunn, and he's no longer associated with us.
And who came to speak or who spoke up most on his behalf, which I thought was interesting, was Bobcat Goldthwait, who flat out was like, fuck you, Disney. It's like, look at my comedy. Look at the things I've done and said on a regular basis. It's like you're pulling a couple things out of context that, you want to say are taboo humor, but yet you've hired me to do. And and the good thing about the impressive thing about Bobcat is it's not like he's saying, Disney 20 years ago put out Police Academy 14. He's working with them now. And he's like, how can you say I'm okay if this guy isn't? It's like, you can't pick and choose like that. And if somebody was to be fired off of a Disney thing, it would be me.
I think that's nice. And yeah, obviously it's a hit job. It's not the same as Roseanne. Disney was kind of dumb to hire Roseanne in the first place. And I've kind of heard sentiments about how it's kind of hypocritical for the cast of Roseanne to even align themselves and ignore Roseanne's past misgivings when it came time to cashing a check. And, okay, there's something to be said about that, but there's also, it maybe they decided within Roseanne's case that she had paid her debt or dues or whatever, or she had since atoned for her sins, or they were just going to play that to the advantage of the storyline. And I don't know. Everything is subjective. There is no black and white. There's no judge, jury, execution. There for every single case. Every single case is not the same, and everything should be taken within context. Again, back to context. Another case in point: Chris Hardwick is coming back to host The Talking Dead. The tuberculosis is spreading.
Right, and kudos for them.
And AMC ran. They said after an investigation, they're allowing him to host The Talking Dead again. That's for now, by the way. Who knows? I mean, there could be a backlash to that decision.
The interesting thing was he was one of the cases where, the person came out, made all these accusations, and said, if you fight me on this, I have tapes and I have footage, and I'll flood the media with it. And he didn't get into a pissing contest in public, but he defended himself. And this evidence never came forward. But what did come forward is 3 or 4 ex-girlfriends who came forward who said, no, I've had a relationship with him. He's been nothing but this. There wasn't like all these co-workers.
It wasn't a pattern.
Right. And this probably, and we can't say, I shouldn't say it probably didn't happen, but the fact that nobody else had come forward and said it, that no other coworker had said, I seen him be abusive, or yes, he talked to people in a demeaning way. And like I said, 2 or 3 or 4 other girlfriends. And yes, his wife, came to his defense. His mother-in-law came to his defense, but I thought it was more impressive that exes. And yet,
who had no horse in the race.
Right. And no other thing surfaced. Nobody else came forward from 10 years earlier.
Right.
From 5 years earlier.
They opened the woodwork and they found nothing.
And this, the girl who made the accusations, to this day, this evidence never came forth that she said. And at the same time, he did, and again, didn't get into it, didn't litigate this in the court of public opinion too much, but he did, or his publicist released a series of tweets where after she said, he did all these awful things, they broke up, and months later, she was still trying to get back with him. She had an affair on him. He broke up with her, and then 5-6 months later, he sends her these messages saying, we're done. Please leave me alone. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
And 6 months after that, she comes back saying, oh, he was this horrible. Well, he was, anyways.
But no, I really do. I'm with you with commending AMC for going through due process.
Right.
Not like saying, there's an accusation. There's a little bit of a pitchfork and torch call to fire Chris Hardwick. We're going to fire him. Signed, sealed, delivered. That's it. They actually put him on, they took him off immediately. They took him off the air, launched a months-long investigation. I guess they did their due diligence. Turns out, for good, bad, or indifferent, nothing came of the investigation that really painted that either corroborated her accusations or exacerbated them, and now he's back, or they say he's going to be coming back. Again, things will change. For now, AMC is saying, yes, we're going to go forward with it, but who knows if there's that big of a groundswell, I keep saying groundswell, but if this is that big of a backlash to this response, then maybe, who knows, they might cave.
The only negative response I've heard came from Kathy Griffin, who was real. And I don't want to be this guy, but I will say, like, they posted a picture of her where she, and they're not trying to find the most flattering picture of her, but I think she's had a rough go of it since her Trump thing in the first couple months.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's like it has physically taken a toll on her. But again, it's like, it's one of those things where AMC didn't just say, oh, we did an investigation, blah, blah, blah. But here's all the evidence. Here's why we felt that. And again, nobody else had come forward in these months. And the way that these things have taken shape over the last couple years, or especially last year, is one person bravely steps up or says something, and then it turns out it's a pattern. But also, and it didn't get as much coverage, is Nev Schulman, if I'm saying his name right. He has the MTV show Catfishing.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that show?
I don't watch MTV anymore.
You know about the Catfishing show?
Yeah, I know what catfishing is, and I think I know what the show's about.
Yeah, so he did a big documentary. He was catfished that MTV's turned into a show, and it's been on for like 3 or 4 years. Management watches it off and on. Same thing. Somebody made an allegation against him. MTV put the show on hiatus, which I agree with, on some things, but it's one of those. So all the people who work in craft services and lighting and all these stuff, you're out of work because somebody made this accusation, which I get why you have to, but they did another 1.5, 2-month investigation, talked to hundreds of people who've been on the show, worked on the show, past, present, and stuff like that, and weren't able to verify the accusations and weren't able to find, any kind of pattern or anybody coming up. And they reinstated his show. So
yeah,
it is one of those things where I do. You want to believe somebody at their word, but
you take all allegations seriously.
But and again, it's like, when you have the Duke lacrosse thing, when you have now a couple public of these, it does. I feel bad because do these guys ever get their reputation back?
That's, what you can't prevent that. I mean, you're not going to. If AMC said, when in the Chris Hardwick situation, if AMC said, fuck Chloe Dykstra, we're sticking with our man Chris Hardwick. He ain't done nothing wrong. Go fuck yourself. Look how bad that would have been. So when you hope and pray that, not everybody leads the most pious lifestyle. People make mistakes. People do bad things, and people do things that are bad in the situation, but on a global scale, it's like, oh my God, this guy's the next Hitler. Do you know what I mean? So, he may have treated her poorly, but not. Or
he may have been upset that she had an affair on him, broke up with her,
right.
And then
and
6 months later.
Exactly. There's obviously more things out there that lend to her being the wrong person, the person who had done the wrong thing in that, I don't know.
The jaded lover.
Exactly. So, but again, it's not a bad thing you can't ignore victims and allegations. You can't, undermine them, or you can't just brush them under the table. But at the same time, you can't ignore due process. There's got to be a balance. You're going okay, we take the allegations seriously. We're going to, halt tape, stop the presses. Let's look into this. Make sure that everything's fine and that he's not really a scumbag who beats people and, keeps people chained
really got a
up in a
Dexter
basement.
on our hands.
Exactly. And then if it turns out that that what he did was tolerable, albeit maybe whatever, or if there's nothing there, then, hire him back and hopefully make amends. And yeah, you know what? Time does heal all wounds. Mel Gibson was in the fucking Daddy's Home Part 2. So go fuck yourself, everybody who thinks that we can't get, Chris Hardwick, this time heals all wounds.
That is amazing. Mel Gibson because it wasn't a one rant thing with him. He's had a number.
He was recorded saying, "I hope that you get fucked by a pack of N-words."
Right.
Like
sweet tits.
Things.
Was it sugar tits?
Sugar tits with the with the female cop. So there is, and even Roseanne said horrible things and got a show out of it, but then she took it too far. She didn't learn her lesson. And then did you see her apology?
Her meltdown tour is.
I thought the bitch was white.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus, and of course that's her son filming her, so he can. That's why he's laughing to her reaction
as she's smoking away.
Why did they upload that?
I don't know.
Why?
No. That's one of those.
Is that
things.
A big FU? Like this is going to be fuck it. Like the attention that my mom's going to get from me uploading this is going to far outweigh. Or did they have a powwow and say, you know what, just put it up there, put it all up there? Like, did she mandate that he put it up there? Like, that's fascinating to me. Because that wasn't live. It wasn't on. Like she did go on Sean Hannity. I didn't see that. Nor do I want to because it's Sean Hannity.
Thank you.
Yeah. Unless it's Sean Hannity, stepping onto a plane, giving the peace signs like Nixon, and flying off into the sunset, never to be seen again. I'm not watching it.
No. I'm going to touch on this really quick. So, and neither Joe or I have advocated, would ever advocate violence or property destruction. However, I was not driven to tears that somebody jackhammered the Traitor-in-Chief's star on the Walk of Fame. You saw that?
Yes, Blotus is, yeah.
So what I love today, did you see it?
Are you talking about the proposed new replacement star?
No, I'm talking about the damaged star. That area has like the police tape around it and is being guarded by two guys dressed in Soviet uniforms with the Soviet flag.
Was that a real thing or a Photoshop?
No, it's a real thing. So couple of guys, and I mean, they're all in. They are just standing, watching guard over, completely stoic.
Great.
They're like the Buckingham Palace type kind of seriousness. They got and these poor sons of bitches. It's not cool there. And
it's like 110 degrees.
They got the wool hats on, the big jackets. You got to check it out.
Them? Like what? Or are they just in for, in it for the win?
I don't know. I don't care. I love those two gentlemen. I don't know if there's going to be around the clock people rotating doing it, but they're dressed in full Russian garb with the flag. It's awesome.
What I saw on Twitter was a proposed replacement star that said Pickaxe Guy. And there was like a pickaxe logo instead of like the TV logo.
If there's a GoFundMe for that, I'm in for $10.
Pay cash. We pay cash.
I definitely am. But, you know, speaking about...
by the way, my recorder usually has a count up, and it doesn't. I don't know what time we have now, so we could have been talking for 25 minutes. I don't know. Do you have a timer running?
No.
What? You son of a bitch.
Leave my mother out of this. Anyway, which, by the way, one of my little guys called me that.
Wait, swallow first. I know you've heard that before.
Me too.
Yeah.
One of my little guys called me a son of a bitch. Go figure, because I'm a bad parent. And instead of getting mad, I'm like, oh, I'm a son of a bitch. So that means Grammy is a bitch. No, I didn't say that. Let's call Grammy. Let's call Grammy right now. No, Papa, don't. It's like, I didn't mean to. That's not my parenting. Maybe that is my parenting tip of the week.
Oh, you're sneaking up on me, eh?
But, you know, you got to be careful what you say. Otherwise, you could get thrown off of YouTube. Isn't that right, Alex Jones?
We didn't get thrown off of YouTube. We got a temporary ban.
I think it's
we had only been 5. We had 5 videos deleted and temporary ban put in place.
And it's a 90
mandated
day
by the Deep Dark State. What?
A 90 day? Is it a 90 day?
I don't know. I don't follow the Gregorian calendar, nor do I follow the 24-hour cycle that you humans do.
So I was happy. You know, again, I'm all for, you know, the first. I am the big First Amendment, you know, guy, like taking a knee, doing this. I agree with awful people being able to say awful things, but there is a line between.
All right, now here we go.
Between hate speech and
this podcast. Doubt it. I've also got kicked off by Facebook for 30 days. By the way, the day after I get kicked off of Facebook, or the day I get kicked off of Facebook, Facebook loses $100 billion in value. Go figure. Coincidence? I think not. Read my series of books from Time Life, Mysteries of the Unknown.
They did. It is the deep state conspiracy.
What?
The deep state conspiracy. The day they kick off you, sir. You know, and did the whole InfoWars get taken off, or was it just
Infowars.com is still up and running? I think. I don't know. I have a couple of shadow sites that also are mirrored Infowars.com. You can go to Amazon.com/Infowars. You can find it right there.
Oh, the dark web? You're all over the dark web?
Darkweb.com/Infowars. You can get the T-shirts.
But they did, like yesterday, as a recording of this, I think it was yesterday or Wednesday, Facebook in one day lost the value of McDonald's. Not a McDonald's, not a product that McDonald's sells, but the entire McDonald's. Think about that. This is McDonald's, the biggest chain in the world, chain restaurant in the world.
It's got to be, yeah.
And in one day, Facebook lost the equivalent of the McDonald's franchise.
It was the greatest single-day loss by any company in U.S. history, in U.S. stock market history. The value of, like, Mark Zuckerberg's Forbes ranking got knocked off literally 2 pegs. Like, he's, you know, like 3rd on the list now. I don't know if he was number 1, but, you know, he's down by, you know, he's down. Coming in at number 5.
You know, but it's
down 2 points from last week. It's Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook.
It's one.
And now, a dedication. It's for my dog, Snuggles. What the fuck are we doing here? I told you we coming out of these high tempo records, going right into a fucking dog dying. I mean, what the fuck? What are we, Alex Jones? I take offense to that, sir. 2, 3, 4. Go on.
I'm just going to sit back because that was a highlight.
Nobody wants that.
You know, but it's funny to lose that much money and still be in the top 3, 5. To be in the top 1 million people after losing that much money in one day.
So is he in the top 2% now? Like, does that?
And we don't get any of this news here. We get no news from around the world. We get no news that isn't, you know, Cadet Bone Spurs 24 hours a day. I mean, literally for the last 2 years.
Now, my Twitter feed, I have the words Trump literally removed from my feed.
Oh, that's good.
I blocked the word Trump. And I'm an asshole for probably doing it. I blocked him from my Twitter feed, and I blocked literally the word Trump and Capricorn. Why did I block Capricorn, you ask?
That would be the Price is Right. But no, what's sad about not getting news from around the world, Facebook and Google is getting fined and kind of, put into check in countries all over the world. There are places that have, that also have free speech, but also say, have regulations against
hate speech.
You can't have hate speech. You can't be taking money from dark sources to put fake information out there. I'm dead serious. It's like they have been fined, like Google, and of course they're the biggest companies in the world. So you find them, $5 billion. That's a half a day. By lunch they've made those profits back up.
If Germany's telling you you've gone too far, there's a problem.
So what happens now with Facebook? I mean, what do they do?
No, and they huddle, they regroup, they turn out first of all, they PR the fuck out of this. They turn up their marketing strategy. They might put out some more like feel good commercials in about 3 months that with the new Facebook, we don't tell you to see Kyle and
when you say sick.
But they'll spin this around. People aren't gonna jump off of Facebook. I mean, people will quit Facebook like they quit everything else because they're bored with it. If Facebook gets to the point, what'll make them quit Facebook? When you start charging for Facebook.
Right.
Once they stop losing that ad revenue so badly that because right now, by the way, I'm still paying for YouTube Premium just because, I probably should not be. That's a problem. I bought YouTube Premium so I could watch Cobra Kai, which was fucking awesome. But I've watched Cobra Kai. I can now cancel my subscription.
Anything else that you would watch?
I watch YouTube all the time. But my theory is that I like the ad-free aspect. I like being able to play it on my phone, without to put the lock screen. It's like little things. But at the same time, it's also kind of helping out the smaller mom and pop kind of YouTube creators in a way. So I'm like, what the fuck? I'll just kind of, I can.
It's $8.
Yeah, 13. But what's $13 amongst friends?
4 12-packs of Moxie, I think.
But getting back to the Facebook point, that's when you'll start seeing people nosedive when they go, if you like Facebook, you're going to love Facebook Plus. It's only $4.95 a month. I'm Casey Kasem. And now, back to our top countdown. God damn it, I told you not to do a parody of me with some guy who doesn't know what he's fucking talking about, who doesn't know how to fucking talk.
Those guys are from England, and who gives a shit like that whole? Because he's talking about U2, and U2 is a gigantic.
I don't think I heard that. I mean, maybe if I did.
The best copy, and anybody who doesn't know, just put Casey Kasem rant into YouTube. Mm-hmm. But one of the things he was ranting about was U2, and he's like, and that was Bono and The Edge, and like, and who the hell are these guys? They're from England, and no one gives a shit.
They're not from England.
Right. You know that. I know that Casey Kasem didn't because they weren't gigantic yet. And so somebody, who recorded that, uploaded it. I will find it. I will send it to you so you can put it in the Carnival Personnel stuff.
No such thing.
They do a kazoo version of "The Streets Have No Name" under the entire rant, and
great.
it is epic. But yes, snuggles.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, so a couple other funny things or fun things. Finally, with all the information out there, with the Mueller investigation, with Cohen getting ready to flip, finally, the House is talking about impeachment. Joe, finally, seriously putting in official paperwork to start impeachment process. You don't seem excited about this.
I'm waiting for the punchline.
There's no punchline.
Yes, there is. I know the punchline.
And it is.
It's not Trump's impeachment.
It's Rosenstein. They're trying to get rid of the because Beauregard Sessions, the racist in chief there.
Foghorn Sessions, thank you.
Thank you. He
or Keebler Sessions.
Keebler Sessions. There you go. he had to recuse himself from this. So the second in command has to oversee the Mueller investigation, and they're trying to impeach him so that they can install somebody new who will then, and this is great. I mean, it is soap opera now, but just the latest on that. The Russian woman who is in jail now, and it turns out she had big links to the NRA. Surprise, surprise.
Where's Dana Lesh, by the way?
She's kind of gone. I think her and Mike Pence are hiding out in the same bunker, waiting for the storm. But she has taken off all on her LinkedIn and her public bios and stuff like that. Has taken off all NRA stuff. She even went on Fox News and wasn't introduced as an NRA spokesperson but it's like we talked last week that it was proven that the Russians gave the NRA money to give to Trump. So the solution was they don't have to disclose this on their taxes anymore. But the only thing that's changed in a week is Michael Cohen's getting ready to flip. It's funny. I don't know if he's getting ready to flip or if he's waging the war in public. It's I got all this information, Donnie. Little help, little help, lifeline. No, okay, let's go to Mueller. How about you?
To the highest bidder, basically.
And that's what that all this stuff is happening. And what I love, I just
big boobs.
Yes. Can we talk about boobs instead?
Yes.
But Rudy Giuliani, he comes out. What was it? 2 nights ago, he was on CNN when the news broke. And he was like, why would you possibly trust a guy? And it's you said it because you tweeted this.
Did I?
Yeah, you made a comment. You had the face of him.
Oh, no, somebody said, well, how do people say, how can he say this with a straight face? And I commented back to that person, I wouldn't exactly say Rudy Giuliani has a straight face.
Do you remember what the quote was?
No.
He said something along the lines of
he's a pathological liar.
He's been lying for Trump for years. You can't trust somebody who's been lying, and it's I'm trying to.
Well, I know what you're going for is that he basically denounced. He put down Michael Cohen as a liar on CNN last night. Rewind to May. When he's talking about Michael Cohen, he's like, well, he's just an upstanding guy. Of course, he wouldn't hire, Trump wouldn't hire somebody who
isn't
trustworthy. Yeah. So lo and behold, a Republican lied. And yeah.
But how much do you love Sacha Baron Cohen? I mean, I cannot wait.
I wish
for
I
the
could
whole
love
show.
him more. I don't have Showtime. So I'm just, I'm just suckling on the little teats of videos that are leaked out every week from Showtime on YouTube, and they're great.
And you saw the latest one?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The guy Jason Spencer or something like that. He was a Georgia state legislator who was forced to resign because he said the N-word, pulled down his pants during.
And why did he pull down his pants?
Well, the Israeli army or the Israeli soldier character that Sacha Baron Cohen plays, who was giving a military training on how to protect yourself against terrorists or anybody untoward that might be threatening harm to America. What you must do is you must pull down your pants and come toward the terrorist, but you warn them that if they touch your buttocks, he will become a homosexual. So you have to do it, and the guy did it.
Drops his pants.
They're in a gym. With the pads on the floor, and kind of like when you're sparring or training for boxing, they're doing the whole, how to defend yourself against a terrorist. And apparently this method was to drop your trousers and your underwear and back into the terrorist with your ass, telling them that if you touch his ass, you will become a homosexual.
Which is true.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
And he, said the N-word and the sand N-word.
Because the thing is, you have to startle the perpetrator, and so one of the most offensive word in the English language is the N-word. So you need to get people's attention, because if you just cry out for help, people might not just take you seriously. But if you yell out something so shocking, everybody will come running to see who's who's yelling these things. So there he is, pants around his ankles.
Yeah, this one he didn't have the pants around his ankles, but he's yelling the N-word, like the N-word.
Over and over.
Yeah,
and over.
right. He's yelling it, and then Sacha Baron Cohen goes, "No, not that, not the N-word is Looney." It's like not that word. That's disgusting. So, but
now, did this guy, was this a hidden camera thing?
no.
Oh no. Okay.
No, he signed a release beforehand, I'm sure.
Okay. So
And
there was
then-
lights and cameras and mic'd up.
And he said the word sand N-word regarding Muslims and so-called terrorists into the camera.
Is there a difference? 2, 3, 4.
If you think I should edit that out of the podcast, call the hotline. But the great thing about this, a little footnote, is this guy was 5 months away from achieving a milestone in his career. If you serve 8 years on this legislature, you get health care benefits for the rest of your life or something like that. No. It's an all or nothing in. Like he was fired, like he resigned 5 months before he hit that deadline. So now he's not going to get any of the benefits that were due to him.
And it's
Should he have?
what's amazing? It's always amazed me, and I guess
Shiny Lanks.
yes. When Colbert had Know Your District, and
Better Know a District.
Better Know a District, the Fighting 186,
Right.
and how many people he got in a similar situation. Now, I don't think he got anybody to drop their pants and use turning you gay as a weapon to
Only
fight terrorism.
Sacha Baron Cohen and Showtime can.
But
apparently.
it was after a while, the Republicans banned anybody from the GOP going on a show or speaking to him because he had duped so many. And I'm thinking, after the first one, why would you?
By the way, speaking of Colbert duping the GOP, he spoke at George W. Bush's White House Correspondents' Dinner. I think it was like 2006,
the greatest
2007.
the greatest in the history, like of all my favorite stand-ups or anything, the fact that he never let up and talk about a room that was not, and whoever fucking booked him. I mean, to this day, that guy had to be not fired. He was floating in the Potomac by the morning, and he's standing right next to George Bush, saying that it wasn't like roasting him from across the room.
I think he pretty much called him a war criminal to his face.
My favorite line,
or stopped short of it.
My favorite line was, "This man believes what he believes. He is stoic in his conviction. He believes the same thing on Wednesday that he believed on Monday, no matter what facts came to life on Tuesday." And it was like, but the whole thing, it's like Sacha Baron Cohen, he's gotten a bunch of these guys. Now, what's really funny is Blotus just recently said, "Oh, he's too smart," that Cohen tried to get him with Borat a few years ago, and he caught on. He left but didn't Donnie Two Scoops just take a prank phone call on Air Force One like a week ago
From Stuttering John from the Howard Stern Show. Yeah, he's no longer with the Howard Stern Show, but yeah, the guy who did Stuttering John Melendez, he has his own little podcast or something going on, and he worked the channels because that's what he did for Howard Stern. Essentially, like he didn't do like that much of a prank where like they would do just elaborate thing, but he knew how to work the system. He knew what to say, and yeah. So Donnie Two Scoops is not immune, and the people around him are not bulletproof. No. So I guess that's the podcast. I don't know, right? Oh, there's more.
No, I'm not even. We won't even get down to it, but the whole, because we've already talked about pedophilia enough. But the guy running to take over Paul Ryan's, who now over 100 wrestlers from Ohio State have come forward and said, we made these complaints while he was there. He chose to do nothing about it. It's not one person, not two people. Over 100 athletes have come forward now. And what does the GOP do? Has he been shown the door like Al Franken or Elliot Spitzer? No. He is now being put up to be the Speaker of the House. If you're a pedophile or turn a blind eye to pedophilia, if you're Roy Moore, you can't.
He's not a pedophile. He's a pedophile sympathizer.
I don't see much of a difference.
But you
either
can't
way,
be in the GOP, friend.
No, I cannot. But I'm middle class. I'm fat. I'm white.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
Seriously. But on that happy note,
I'm glad we didn't talk about that.
I'm glad we didn't talk about that, but so I can keep this Moxie habit going.
Right, where the Moxie flows like wine. Does it flow?
Not really.
No, it's more of a swill.
I'm gonna, and now
Should you be able to chew it?
in my head, I'm like, was it a mistake that I got the diet?
Right, why did you go full Moxie?
Yeah, next week.
Don't pull your punches when it comes to Moxie.
Dare to dream.
All right, I think they're a defunct sponsor. I think you bought the last of the Moxie. And speaking of defunct sponsors, here's our defunct sponsor of the week.
We got the juice, we got a hit, we got the blast, Sprite and 7-Up mist. We got the juice, slice, slice.
And for the great taste of orange,
We got the juice, we got the juice, we got the blast, we got the taste.
Mandarin orange
Nobody else has. We got the juice,
in Mandarin orange slice.
slice, slice.
So football camps open this week. Of course, like the Palace drama going on.
Oh, sorry, I drank some Moxie by accident. Go on.
The Palace drama, and I said a couple weeks ago, I'm still not getting sucked in. I don't care. You on my Twitter feed, you see things where people like text me, "Oh, did you hear this?" I really don't care. I'm not sure how much I am going to care. The only thing that we talked about last week that I care about, the Garoppolo trade, is now he's dating a porn star, and good for you, kid.
Yeah, baby.
I don't, and there's nothing. When I made this rundown, I'm like, there's nothing going on in sports I really care about at all right now. I don't even care about the Mass Pirates, and we got our last home game coming up next week, and a playoff game the week after, and literally the interest is less than zero at this point for pretty much everybody involved. But then Joe, of all people, you sent me a Boston sports story last night.
So my wife, she was on Facebook, and for some reason this popped up. I guess it's like the 20th anniversary or something like that.
No, it's like it was 95.
Yeah, it was 95, not 98. So 95, the Boston Garden, the original Boston Garden, where the Celtics won 16 championships and the Bruins won 2.
They won 5. They won 5, you son of a bitch.
They tore down the Boston Garden in 1995, and later that year, they were about halfway through the demolition when apparently they found something. And I didn't know about this story, but it popped up, like I said, in my wife's Facebook page, this resurrection of the story about the legend of the Boston Garden monkey. Apparently, legend had it for years, there was a monkey living in the Boston Garden, in the rafters, sustaining on probably snack foods or something.
Like
after
the little
game.
animation of him eating half a hot dog and a beer.
Yeah, you're referring to the clip that I sent you, which apparently was an ESPN short. It was like 8 minutes long. It was narrated by Lenny Clark, and he was regaling the story and the legend of the Boston Garden monkey, and how it was talked about and kind of rumored about for years, but never confirmed. And even after the Boston Garden was torn down, apparently there were rumors that construction workers found the carcass of said monkey in the rafters, kind of wedged between like the trusses and the concrete or something like that. So, and it was mummified. It was like it wasn't,
How old was, because allegedly that the monkey, one of the big things in the garden, since the garden was there, was Ringling Brothers Circus,
Yeah.
which the Bruins and the Celtics had to schedule around Ringling Brothers for decades. And one year a monkey got loose.
Many monkeys got loose. In the 30s, there was it's all in the piece, but apparently in the 30s, about 11 monkeys got loose and maybe 6 were claimed or something like that. But obviously this monkey wouldn't have been the same from the 30s. But there was rumors like in the 80s that, apparently Larry Bird, according to the documentary, had seen the monkey or something like that or heard about it. Or, I don't know. Long story short, too late. They find the construction worker who had the monkey, who basically hid it from his supervisors. He took the fucking thing home. Like, he carried it around with him for times. He had it in his shed for, 20 years?
But they had 3 guys who were there the day it was found. And they were all talking about the pictures that they took. They posed this monkey corpse, like with a shovel and a cigarette in his mouth, and
holding a Dunkin' Donuts cup. Yeah, and it was sort of like a mascot that it was like, talk about gallows humor.
so fucking creepy.
It is. So
Stay classy, Boston.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, and even like the other 2 construction workers who were working with the guy who actually physically took the monkey home said, like, Johnny's a character. If anybody took home the monkey, it would have been Johnny. And you see pictures of John holding, I think his name's John, holding like the monkey like on his, like as if it were like climbing up his shirt. And then the pièce de résistance is when ESPN's crew went there to film him in the shed where he had the monkey carcass. Apparently one day it had been like sweltering heat, and there must have been some critters or something that got to it. Basically, the carcass was like dissolved, almost gone.
It ceased to be.
It ceased to right. And this monkey wouldn't boom if you put 30,000 volts through it. So he did, however, keep the skull of the monkey in like a little Tupperware. It wasn't even covered. It was like it was just lined with.
Well, Johnny's
paper.
a character.
Johnny, that fucking Johnny. You give him fucking 3 monkeys, man. He'll go to fucking town. Fucking Johnny, man.
Yeah, they weren't weirded out. I mean, I don't know what's weirder, the guy, because he talked about, for months, he carried it around in his toolbox. He brought it with him to sites, and people would be like, oh, man, do you got the monkey? Because he was, that's the way construction works. You don't know what site you're working next type thing. And it became like his little personal mascot.
He was a real hit at the bar.
And what's creepier, that the guys thought that was great.
Yeah.
Well, that he kept that thing for years.
I know. It was just odd story. And I'm like, oh, Jacques must know about this.
Nope. That was news to me.
So there you go, folks. Check out the story and the legend and the history of the Boston Garden Monkey. It was a thing.
And so that's it for sports this week, because there is no this week in the USFL, because the USFL wraps. Always wrapped. It lasted 3 years. It's 3 years. Its final game, its championship game, was always played from like
in sweltering heat,
from like the 17th to like the 24th. So there is no more. But Biff, get ready, because you're going to start doing your This Week in WHA hockey. That's what jumping back to politics. Biff wanted to. Me to make sure that I knew that the 5 people that Mueller investigation against Manafort had to be, like, their identities be unsealed, and one of them was Bernie Sanders' campaign manager, like, had ties to the same people that Manafort did. I don't know enough about that, but I will look into it. We will talk about it next week, and I will say, no, not all the people I cheer for. I agree with everything that they've ever done. So,
like a certain Mr. Brady or a certain Mr. Kraft or a certain Mr. Belichick.
Or I don't even. No, I'm not even going down that.
We want to talk about sports. That fucking Johnny, man. He's a fucking nutcase.
What are you playing? Oh, actually, I don't have to ask Joe what he's playing this week. When I got to do the podcast, he was with his Star Trek pinball emulator going to town.
We talked about that. That's old news.
But it was fun.
It was,
So what new game? Do you got anything you want to do?
Let's do the old random.
All right.
Why not? Random video game review. And give me some fresh video games. Something 1998. So Jacques getting up, lumbering over. Let's go, Sparky. He's gonna check out the video game wall of pathetic shame that resides in my basement. He's gonna go grab a disc-based game. Yawn. Off the wall.
What was I supposed to grab?
The old-fashioned Nintendo games that nobody gives a shit about. You think people don't give a shit about Nintendo games? They really don't give a shit about PlayStation 2 games.
Well, you'd be surprised.
I would be surprised.
Surprised.
Is it a PlayStation 2 game?
It is a PlayStation 2 game.
Let's see here. Gosh. I'm gonna say it starts with an S. No. I give up. Who gives? Is it Star Trek?
No, it's not even close to this.
Oh God, I give up. I don't know. I've stopped caring. Looney Tunes back in action. I have played this game.
Oh, well, that's a go.
That's a plus.
There you go.
Now we're chugging along.
Yep.
Now we're cooking with gas. The hunt is on. Play as Bugs and Daffy on their globe-trotting adventure to find the mystical blue monkey. Monkey Diamond! There's the word monkeys in the title, in the description. Looney Tunes back in action. This was, I guess this kind of came out around the same time as the movie, Looney Tunes back in action. This was a 3D platformer. It's kind of like Super Mario Brothers 64. You know, like a 3D platformer is like Super Mario Odyssey. You know, where you have a 360-degree world, but you're jumping around and going up and below and stuff like that, trying to collect items. It's kind of like that, but you're playing as Bugs Bunny and Sylvester the Cat and Daffy Duck, and it's okay. You know, it's a little clunky. I think the camera had some issues. It's a kind of a meh game. I mean, it's so meh that I had to reprint the cover. I don't know why I did this. I don't know why I wasted precious ink on reprinting the cover to Looney Tunes back in action so I could put it in a proper DVD case.
So you bought it somewhere just...
Yeah, it was like a disc-only GameStop kind of thing, I think. I don't even know. I don't even know how I stumbled upon this. If it came like in a lot of other things, or if I, actively saw this and said, "That's my video game." I don't know. It's kind of a mediocre game. It's nothing to write home about or do a podcast about. But here we are.
How much do you think you paid?
Nothing. I didn't pay a damn thing for it. I don't know. Did I? Maybe I did. If I were to buy this, if I were, drunk and just surfing the web and said, "Fucking Looney Tunes, I love this Johnny. He's a fucking character.
And bring the monkey over.
Oh, yeah, fucking monkeys and fucking ducks and shit." $4. Yeah, what does it say? $8.95. Wow, disc only? Okay, cool. All right.
See?
That's the asking price. I bet I can, talk them down.
Christian him down a bit?
I can Christian them down a bit.
Oh, nice. All right. What are you watching? I know what management is watching.
She's finishing up Merlin. What am I watching?
But that's in record time. When did she start that?
Well, that's only 5 seasons, and I think I don't know if there are 22 episodes a season, so it's not like NCIS where it's like a network show. So, I don't know.
I wouldn't even know what Merlin was on.
I think it was on BBC America in the late 2000s, kind of like the Doctor Who, So, anyways, BBC America, they have good shows, but this was like one of their fantasy shows. Whatever. A lot of bustiers, corsets. Hey, now. But what am I watching? Well, thanks for asking. Nobody's ever asked me what I'm watching. I'm always guessing what you're watching, but it's interesting that you're asking what I'm watching. It's fun to get a different perspective on things. Yeah, is it hot in here?
I'm trying to be thorough.
What the fuck am I? I don't know, YouTube? Oh, where was I? Oh, I'm watching a little bit of Joel McHale show. Now, the Joel McHale show with Joel McHale on Netflix. It used to be a weekly thing where they would comment on the most recent pop culture reality show type shit, but this season they did 6 episodes kind of in a row, so it's binge worthy. So it's all pre-recorded. It has nothing to do with you're watching then, not now. When will then be now? Soon. But it's fun. I'm watching a couple episodes of that. And I also watched Ready Player One.
And
it's all right. I like it.
Is it because it was hyped too much that, Joe's going to love this? It's about video games from the 80s.
Right. You're going to love this, nerd. I think I'm kind of lukewarm to a lot of recent, I can't say a lot of recent Steven Spielberg movies because I didn't see Lincoln, I didn't see War Horse, I didn't see like all of his more non-sci-fi things. But
the garbage.
The garbage, as I like to call it. This was okay. It was well done. I liked, the message was fine. It played like an 80s movie. It was resolved like an 80s movie. I really did appreciate the more than one Back to the Future reference in the movie. The soundtrack was cool. A lot of it is CGI, The characters and everybody plays in an avatar in this virtual reality world called the Oasis. I strangely like the oddball creator of the Oasis.
I thought he was great, and the whole twist on it. It was like,
please give it away.
Okay, no, I won't. But there was, and what I loved is the twist about like his one big regret wasn't what everybody thought his one big regret was going to be.
Right. So the plot of the movie is that it's a virtual world in which almost everybody basically like picture Trump's America 10 years from now.
Yeah, the whole world is reality based. Well,
virtual,
and it's the biggest company in the world.
Right. It's like fuck Apple. They founded the Oasis in like the 2020s or something like that, and now everybody has a headset and then like a haptic body suit. If you're really good, and people like pour real money into this virtual world in order to win points that is worth real money in the real world, but. People are like losing their minds over their status in the Oasis. But you can be whatever you want to be. You can, you can create your avatar around your basically whatever your imagination is. But the creator of the Oasis was heavy into 80s pop culture because he grew up in the 80s. But he had died, and the whole point of the movie is that everybody who's in the Oasis can compete to compete to find the 3 hidden keys.
And then you own the Oasis. You become the richest person in the world.
Right. And they have a corporate, there's the bad, evil corporation, like every Steven Spielberg sci-fi movie. Like an 80s Steven Spielberg movie, there's the evil corporation who has like hordes and hordes of professional gamers that are in the Oasis nonstop.
And then they take prisoners and make them play on behalf of it.
Right. And to get control of the Oasis, because if this corporation can get control of the Oasis, there's no stopping them. So, and then there's an ad-free thing in the Oasis. So like that was one thing that the creators didn't put into the programming is you can't advertise in the Oasis. But anyway, so this one kid who kind of figures out, he figures out the secret, and then he meets a friend, and he meets another friend, and it's a fun movie. I mean, now that I'm talking about it, yeah, it's a fun movie, but it wasn't something that I was like, wow, this is changing it. Like when I saw Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I'm like, shit, man, this is a fucking movie. Like this speaks to me.
But nobody told you about it. Like, you're going to love this movie, Joe. You have to watch it for 6 months.
Exactly right. So there is something to be said about overhyping a movie, saying you've got to watch this movie. But I tried not to overhype Scott Pilgrim to you.
You did a fantastic job. You're like, you're going to like this, just watch it. And I can't believe that every week I came back here and you didn't say, go home, watch it, then you can come back to my house.
Because being married for this many years, you realize if you nag somebody that long, it's only going to make them want to do it less. Like nothing makes people want to do something less than somebody else, especially somebody that's close to them, nagging them about it. It ruins the fun. So... and unfortunately, I didn't read the book, so I didn't have the immediate interaction that your management, I think, had with Ready Player One, because she read the book.
Well, how can you tell if somebody read a book of a movie that was made?
They tell you right away.
Exactly.
But it's worth a watch. It's not a bad movie.
Did you look, the commercial gives it away. The poster gives it away. There's one epic battle scene. How much did you love every character you've ever loved in every movie, every game ever? The fact that they had the old school, characters, and then like there was all these Overwatch characters in there.
And they had like Gundam characters from anime and stuff that I couldn't relate to,
but
I appreciated.
Army of Batman, like every kind of variation of Batman.
I think they had the 66 Batman in there as well. I like that part. In a way, this is kind of like a watered down modern version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit in that respect, where like you got the Disney characters and the Paramount cartoon characters and the Warner characters all living in the same world. This is kind of like that with pop culture. The DeLorean plays a heavy role in this. The Iron Giant plays a heavy role, but that was sort of given away in the. I'm not giving too much away about it, but I don't know. I liked it. It was worth the free download. I mean, I paid for it.
Box it.
Yes, I of course paid for it. This must be this Moxie.
I think we own it, and you have the Apple TV.
This tastes like a Foot Locker. It's awful.
How do you know what
a 1980s, early 90s Foot Locker? No, it's what it tastes like a Goodwill. Like, if Goodwill put out like a fragrance and you drank it, that's Moxie. Jacques, what are you watching? Besides your weight.
No, I'm not. I keep saying I got to start. I got to lose 80 pounds this year.
Drop the kids off at the school.
There you go. We, out of Redbox, because we were able to pawn the, Dream Squashes off at Grammys, otherwise known as the bitch, because I'm a son of a bitch. So, anyways,
let it go, man.
She was nice enough to, hey, she stopped watching Fox News, all stuff. But she took the Awful Children, and we watched Game Night. I cannot recommend Game Night more if I tried. It was probably the best movie, and it was, what was great is I knew nothing about it going in. I'm like, oh, rated R. Comedy. I'll give this a spin. Dude, it was fantastic.
All right, then don't say anything else, because
Yeah.
you went into it cold. Let our audience go into it cold. It's Jason Bateman.
It's Jason Bateman, who I really like. Jason Bateman,
Right? Isn't the Indian? There's like an Indian comedian, Indian American comedian. Is he in that? No,
I don't think. If he is, I'm trying to go.
Kumail
back.
Nanjiani? No. I'm thinking of somebody else.
But it is. It's fun. A lot of fun twists.
Good.
It is,
and it's a modern movie.
Game Night. Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, 2018.
Did really well too, and it's like so because always you can't watch a movie now sitting at home without seeing how it did on Box Office Mojo and getting go Rotten Tomatoes.
No, you can't.
I can't. That's true. And part of me is like, damn it, it did so well. They're probably gonna make a second one.
Oh yeah, right.
But it was highly suggested. Well worth. Not only is it worth the $1.75, I'd even would have gone to the $2 to get the Blu-ray version. What? Except why would I do that? My eyesight sucks.
You could have watched the Laserdisc version and be like, "This is great.
This is great." Right? Exactly. Oh no, it's a copy on VHS. Fine. Oh, it's SVHS because you know it is good. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely do that.
Great.
Yeah, there you go. And what about a parenting tip to wrap things up?
Yeah, you tell me. You're the parent.
You. Hey.
And now a parenting tip from Jacques.
So, we've been battling with the pool all year, and one of the morning rituals is getting the frogs out of the pool. No, that is not a slight on my Canadian friends.
French
Canadian friends. Because why would I be friends with the French Canadians? But seriously, there's always one or two frogs in the pool that you got to get out, which is a pain in the ass because you go down in the deep end. But after it rains, and it's been raining a lot, there might be 7 or 8, frogs in there. And it dawns on management and I the other day that, our boys are such, not outdoorsy type. They've never held a frog, and it was really, really funny because they were both creeped out and almost afraid to hold a frog. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are such sissies. And then I go to the drain and there was 3 frogs in there. It's like, yeah, I don't want to put my hand in there. There's 3 frogs in there. So, before you kill your kid's sissy pants for not wanting to hold a frog, but I did. I manned up and they were both like, oh, this is so gross. I'm like, it is. I have no idea why people ever wanted to hold frogs. But that's my parenting tip is, if you're going to call them sissy pants because they won't hold the frog, nut up and, pick it out of the drain yourself and hand it to them.
It's not easy being green.
It is. And I cannot not call every frog Kermit as we release them back into the wild,
Because you're unoriginal.
I really am.
Hack.
But that's
you at least name one of them Pepe.
No.
Yes.
You son of a bitch.
it.
See, yes. Middle-aged white guy, fat, with a green frog. Yep, hey, got it down.
All right, check, and check. So that's the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Follow us on Facebook, Carnival Podcast, on Twitter as well. Not on Instagram because nobody looks at us. You turn to stone if you look at us.
Any thoughts on Moxie? Let Joe know how wrong he is that Diet Moxie might be the greatest thing since Tab.
Or diarrhea in a can, label it Moxie, and sell it. You'll make money.
Thank you for tuning in. We apologize for so many things. If the world doesn't end before the next week's podcast, we'll be back with more nonsense. But until then, Joe, do not forget...